things going on.
Yeah, they're about to start cover shirt too.
So like,
They don't sound like
she's using Tuesdays. So if I'm hearing Tuesdays and Wednesdays, I work until like 11 p.m. Yeah, that's crazy. So I'm like, then I come on Thursdays, then I go down to PM and go.
I know
So
it's
it's
like
kind of
Canada
very ad hoc
or
system.
Canada.
Whenever I can, with whatever else I'm doing. I don't know if that makes sense.
No, that does make sense. So is there 700 hours you're supposed to repeat outside of your shifts?
All right.
It's just livable.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah, it's just but it's okay.
It sounds good. Also sounds good. Needs to be busy.
It's interesting. Yeah. But then like if I really slowly and I feel like I'm doing absolutely nothing.
Well, I
Because I'm
will,
just starting
How's the audio good?
I have weeks like this.
Check the
where
audio.
I'm doing too many things. There's too much going on.
It's the ebb and flow is just crazy.
It's insane.
Yeah, audio's good.
Cool.
All right.
Going to bed at the store. I found the first thing this morning. So like last night when the results came in, I got like a small version. And then it wasn't out last day. And now it seems like he's gonna look at it until end of day, which is like fine. But now it's becoming like
Right, but now it's like 2 p.m. You're like, oh my god, we've done this later.
but also I'm like jump in whatever. So I'm trying to think. The editors are just so busy today.
I'm sure
Like they're just like
Lexi and stuff and the skit and the like
Yeah,
reconciliation and the
It's true. It's this, like the Japanese from just have stand office. So much.
This part is they don't know we're watching that.
games on simultaneously.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know what game will be here, and then the other game I have is on Apple. So let's see if I can just like decide that one.
That's Columbia again.
Yeah. I had games from last night. The Columbia game was like overnight.
Yeah, I think it started at like 9:30 or 10. Yikes! If I didn't.
Guess it wasn't worth staying up for. But yeah, it's like Canada and the Swiss and Bosnia versus Qatar. 3. There's games on at like 3, 6, and 9.
Okay.
Those outlanders.
Right.
Or like something else.
That often happens. Yes.
I'm like a really huge.
Lighting should be good too.
Hmm?
Should be good on lighting.
Yeah. I saw your FX9. I'm like, we have one in our drawer. We heard they were taken out now because everybody's got an FX6.
Yeah, yeah, they
But I
don't.
still love 'em.
From
What
what
are
I've
you
heard,
looking?
yeah. I woke up this morning. I was twisting my ankle in the middle of the night or something. I can't put any pressure on it. Yeah, I love this thing. They don't make them anymore.
Nobody
right.
should ever look at my chest.
I love it too. It was my
It's really bad.
Yeah, this
3-4 years.
I use it mainly for production and like I've been in here doing live shots.
Oh,
that,
okay.
So I use it
Yes,
for live
it
shots. I
is.
don't run and
Put
gun
together
with
a bunch
it
of
because
links and
I
things
don't want to
that
screw
you
it
know.
up.
I actually, I had my boss buy a running gun kit for the FX9.
Yeah.
I put everything together, put it on my shoulder. I'm like, oh my god.
It's so heavy. Yeah,
That is
yeah.
what I use it for.
And the battery is so thirsty.
Yeah, and even with, I got a little bit of a shoulder mount with and the arms on it too. It's so
I'm sure
heavy on the
other ones
shoulder.
are on level.
Yeah.
That's already
And,
providing the filibuster. Again.
And I just like, especially like in the halls around here, everything's marble and it's scary. Like,
Yeah.
drop it, it's just gone.
I just noticed everybody started dropping the
I know,
FX6.
yeah, that's what we all, like, all the guys have 6s now.
Yeah.
Well,
We're so amazing.
if you have a 9, then you don't have a
Yes.
6.
Oh.
So I think we only have about 4 9s left.
Probably.
Yeah.
4 or
That's
5
the
9s
big one
left.
where Jeffrey says.
Oh, I
it's
really
really
love the,
impressive.
Is that
my
also
favorite
That's like around
is the,
So you're being the
automatic
same
neutral
like
density.
complex,
Yeah.
But we just went through that.
I love the red eye detection.
Yeah,
It
that's
keeps-
it.
especially for live shots, just keeps everything nice and focused.
Yeah. It's an all-around great camera.
Yeah.
But still, I mean, every now and then I'll bust the FX9 out of the drawer because it kind of looks cool. It's like, somebody brought the real
Yeah.
camera.
Yeah, it's probably getting old, man. You wake up in the morning and like you can't walk or you can't stay in place. Something
Wow.
happens in your sleep.
What a hell of a dream.
It's kicking in my sleep. I mean, sometimes I get off the
I'm
couch
pretty
and
sure she was too.
get dizzy just getting off the couch.
Yeah, this is how they have it. That would try.
Sit down on your neck. You can't move for like 3 days.
We all do it. Nobody there?
She's heavy too.
But that's helpful because I kind of need.
It says Thursday. At least you get a free stay.
Oh, I think I don't need that. It's like, great. Usually we have to keep those guys in there.
up at 4 points. Probably can pick up 3 here. But then Canada and Swiss and Tyler are 3 on the bottom.
Oh, wow, yeah. Canada's rocking.
Yeah, so they would need, Bosnia would need to win. They would need Canada to win and Swiss not score any goals.
Mm. Oh wait, that's 20.
Oh yeah,
20,
yeah.
sorry, that's-
Yeah, they were so far winning this group. Yeah.
Give me that.
We'll start in 1 minute.
1 minute.
Are evocando el derecho al voto en millones de personas que son elegibles hoy, sería un desastre si llegase a que se aprobara esta ley. Thank you so much.
Hey, what's up, Chewie? I think I'm going straight to you and then straight to Chewie after that, and then you, Judy. Is that okay? I'm not even gonna. I know I think you have a time constraint, so I think I'm handing it to you very quickly. Okay, everyone, we're gonna get started. Can people hear me? Okay, we good? And I think we're going to be joined by Hank Johnson here shortly. Good morning. I'm Greg Casar, chair of the Congressional Progressive Caucus. Thank you for joining us, the Congressional Progressive Caucus, the Congressional Black Caucus, the Congressional Asian Pacific American Caucus, and the Congressional Hispanic Caucus, working together on our response to the disastrous Calais decision, the stripping of people's voting rights, and decades of progress in America. Our first speaker is the chairwoman of the Congressional Black Caucus, Yvette Clarke.
Thank you, Chairman Casar. Good afternoon. As has already been stated, I'm Congresswoman Yvette D. Clarke, chair of the Congressional Black Caucus for the 119th session of Congress, and proudly representing New York's 9th Congressional District. I want to thank my colleague, Congressman Greg Casar of the Progressive Caucus, for his leadership in introducing this important resolution to affirm voting rights. I also want to thank my Tri-Caucus colleagues, Chairman Adriano Espaillat, Chair Emerita Judy Chu, and I think Chewie is here.
Yes.
As well, Chewie Garcia is here, as well as Congressman Hank Johnson for their continued partnership. In the wake of the Calais decision, black political representation has come under direct assault. Across the South, Republican-led legislatures and governors have moved rapidly to redraw congressional lines and maps ahead of the November election in a brazen effort to dilute black voting strength, weaken black representation, and reverse decades of hard-fought civil rights progress secured through the Voting Rights Act. The consequences of this democratic erosion extend far beyond politics. When communities lose meaningful political representation, they also lose equitable access to resources, infrastructure, healthcare, education, environmental protections, economic investment, and public safety. Regardless of where you live, this impacts us all, because an attack on fair representation for black voters threatens the integrity of the representative democracy itself. When the courts weaken protections against racial discrimination in voting, they open the door for efforts to enact discriminatory maps, silence entire communities, and erode public trust in our institutions. Right now, they're targeting black representation in the South. But tomorrow, it could be a blue district in any state. At its core, this moment is about whether every American, regardless of race or zip code, has a voice in our democratic process. Extremist Republicans will stop at nothing to cement one-party rule in Washington. They know they cannot outrun their failed leadership and disastrous approval ratings. As costs continue to rise for families across the country, their focus is not on solutions, but on manipulating the maps to hold on to power in perpetuity. Our democracy can only survive if we fight for it together. That is why Democrats are united in demanding fair maps and equal access to the ballot box, not schemes designed to silence voters. As we approach November, House Democrats will continue mobilizing communities, combating voter suppression, protecting access to the ballot box, restoring trust, and strengthening our democratic institutions. Despite these efforts to tilt the playing field, we are confident in our path to victory this November. And when we win, we will advance the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act, alongside critical reforms, including eliminating the filibuster and reforming the Supreme Court to ensure fairness, accountability, and equal representation under the law.
That's right.
Democrats believe that protecting democracy is a shared responsibility and the right to vote is foundational. We will continue using every tool available, legislative, political, and moral, to defend voting rights and ensure that all communities have a meaningful voice in the decisions that shape their lives. We will not be deterred because the promise of American democracy demands that every voice is heard, every vote is counted, and every community is fully represented. Let me thank you, and I yield back to our chairman, Kassar.
Thank you, Chairwoman, and thank you to the Congressional Black Caucus for your stalwart leadership dating back to the 1960s, the 1970s on this issue. Next, our chairman of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus, Adriano Espaillat, a strong supporter of this resolution and of this work. Speaking on behalf of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus today is Congressman Chuy Garcia.
Thank you, and good afternoon. I proudly stand with my colleagues here to show our solidarity across the Democratic Caucus in the wake of the Supreme Court's lawless decision in Calais. The decision is the result of decades-long Republican assault on the Voting Rights Act, on voting rights, and on democracy itself. This fight is personal for me. I arrived in the U.S. in 1965, the same year the Voting Rights Act was passed. The Voting Rights Act was a result of decades of grassroots organizing by black communities in the South. It gave black, Latino, Asian, and other communities real political representation that we had worked decades for. For example, the district that I represent today is the first Latino majority congressional district in the Midwest because of the Voting Rights Act and because it had teeth and because our communities demanded fair representation. The Voting Rights Act was a decisive blow against Jim Crow and the forces of white supremacy that propped it up. Latino, Black, Asian, and other communities have built political representation and power for decades because of this landmark legislation. And that's why Republicans have spent decades trying to gut the Voting Rights Act. They don't redraw maps because we're weak. They redraw maps because we're powerful. They fear black power. They fear Latino power. They fear Asian power. They fear the power of people of all races and ethnicities standing together and saying, we will not bow to white supremacy. And this is the power we need to draw on now. We will not go back to Jim Crow. We will not allow extremists like John Roberts, Stephen Miller, and Donald Trump to strip our communities of the power we have fought and won over decades of struggle. The resolution we're introducing today is our roadmap to win full voting rights, no half measures, no concessions to the authoritarian movement that is hell-bent on destroying our country, end the filibuster, restore the Voting Rights Act, expand access to the ballot, reform the corrupt, lawless Supreme Court. We're joined together in this powerful coalition that you see here today. We will fight and we will win. Thank you.
Thank you, Congressman. Another strong supporter of this work that helped us craft this resolution is the chairwoman of KPAC, Congresswoman Grace Meng, and speaking for KPAC today is Chair Emerita of KPAC, Congresswoman Judy Chu.
Well, thank you so much. I'm Congressmember Chu, Chair Emerita of the Congressional Asian Pacific American Caucus, and I'm honored to stand in support of Congressman Casar's resolution, co-led by our KPAC Chair Meng, CHC Chair Espaillat, and CBC Chair Clark, to protect our democracy and the voting power of the American people. Because today, under the Trump administration, our democracy is under attack. The Supreme Court's decision in Louisiana versus Calais was the latest assault on our country's voting rights. It undermined decades of hard-fought progress towards fair representation, making it easier for communities of color to lose their political voice and setting a dangerous precedent that allows those in power to redraw districts to keep themselves in power. That strikes at the very heart of our democracy, and Democrats won't stand for it. Certainly, AA and HPIs know what happens when fair representation is denied. For 60 years, Chinese Americans were denied the ability to become naturalized citizens so that they could not vote. And then, places like Koreatowns and other areas of Asian concentration were splintered between districts so that they could never elect their own representative. Community members could not understand complicated ballot initiatives without translation because at least 30% of our population is limited English proficient. And they were even harassed at the polls because of their accent. But this all changed with the Voting Rights Act, which has protected Asian Americans, Native Hawaiians, and Pacific Islanders from being denied access to ballot boxes based on their race, ethnicity, or limited English proficiency. As the fastest growing racial and ethnic group in the United States, AA and HPIs deserve equitable representation that reflects both our growth and our voices. And that's why I am proud to stand with my Tri-Caucus and CPC colleagues to make our message unmistakably clear. We will not go backwards. This resolution lays out what it will take to defend and strengthen our democracy. First, we must restore the full protection of the Voting Rights Act. Second, we must abolish the filibuster so that the fundamental right to vote can't be blocked by a Senate minority. And third, we must reform the outdated extremist Supreme Court. These are the steps needed to return power to the American people and to ensure that our democracy survives yet another existential test. The fight ahead will not be easy, but history has shown that every expansion of American democracy has required people willing to stand up, speak out, and refuse to accept injustice. Today, we stand here united in our vision of what we know is possible to save our democracy. And together, we will protect the right to vote for this generation and every generation that follows. Thank you.
Thank you, Congresswoman. And now we have a leader in the CPC, the CBC, and our ranking member of the subcommittee on the courts, as well as the author of many of the needed Supreme Court reforms, Congressman Hank Johnson.
Thanks, Rep. Casar, and good afternoon, everyone. I'm privileged and honored to be here with my colleagues from the CPC, the CBC, the CHC, and the KPAC. And glad to be here with you all today. At this 250-year mark of the beginning of American democracy, we see democracy under attack. We see democracy for all under attack. There cannot be democracy in this country for just a privileged few. Democracy has to exist for us all. And democracy is under assault and in jeopardy of failing. At the leadership of this movement to deconstruct our democracy is unfortunately the United States Supreme Court. With the Calais decision, it has struck down the Voting Rights Act. It started with Shelby County back in 2013, eviscerated the enforcement mechanism, Section 5 of the Voting Rights Act, and then eviscerated Section 2 in the Calais case, the recent case. And what states did in response to that was to show that the Supreme Court was wrong in Shelby County when it undertook to make its own findings of fact about the existence of racism in this country insofar as voting rights is concerned. In Shelby County, the Supreme Court ignored 10,000 pages of legislative findings of fact and decided to substitute that with its own findings of fact. And in doing that, it usurped legislative authority. That's not the first time that the Supreme Court has done that. It has done that repeatedly over the last few years. And what it has also done is to bestow upon presidents official immunity from criminal prosecution for official acts. And so what that does is violates the principle of no man is above the law in this country. It has established a king. It has disrupted the delicate system of checks and balances that has made our democracy work in this country for the last 239 years. And so having disrupted that delicate system of checks and balances by taking legislative authority and investing it within itself, and also putting presidents above the law, giving them more power, it has disrupted our democracy. And so we have to bring about change in this country to protect democracy moving forward for the next 250 years. And so Supreme Court reform is at the forefront. So measures like expanding the court, measures like ensuring that the court adopts an enforceable code of conduct for itself, and also term limits for Supreme Court justices. These are issues that have to be considered, but unfortunately, Congress will never pass Supreme Court reform legislation unless there is filibuster reform in the Senate. And so I'm here to support filibuster reform. I'm here to support Supreme Court reform, and I'm here to support voting rights for people of color in this country. And with that, I will yield back.
Thank you, Congressman and Ranking Member. I'll give my remarks briefly and then answer your questions. But I am proud to chair the Congressional Progressive Caucus and to have worked alongside my colleagues at the Black Caucus, the Asian Caucus, and the Hispanic Caucus on this resolution. In less than 2 months since the right-wing Supreme Court's majority decision in the Calais case, we have witnessed one of the worst attacks on Americans' political freedom since the end of Reconstruction. From Alabama to Florida, from Louisiana to Mississippi to Tennessee, Republican legislators have put forth new Jim Crow maps that seek to silence our communities. In my own state of Texas, Republicans eliminated multiple opportunity districts for Texans of color. including dismantling the Hispanic Opportunity District I currently represent. The rights that Black Americans and civil rights marchers of all backgrounds that they fought for, that they bled for, and even died for are being destroyed before our very eyes. Today, we are here to say with one voice that we will fight back, and that the next time that Democrats have power, we must demand restoration of voting rights in this country and be willing to do what it takes to get it done, with no delays and no excuses. Today, we're introducing a new House resolution supported by the Progressive Caucus, the Black Caucus, the Hispanic Caucus, the Asian Pacific American Caucus, calling for the full restoration of the Voting Rights Act, elimination of the filibuster, and structural change to the Supreme Court so that it answers to the people, not just to donors. We have to be honest about how we got here. We are here primarily because the long-term Republican donor effort to hijack the Supreme Court and undermine our democracy. We're also in this mess because Democrats, a small number of Democrats when we had power, refused to act. Despite clear warnings about what would come next, a small number of senators chose loyalty to the filibuster over Americans' voting rights, and that cannot happen again. Anyone looking to lead the Democratic Party into the future needs to know that Americans and voters will demand a full commitment to restoring our democratic rights. And Senate Democrats need to know that a Jim Crow relic like the filibuster will not be an excuse in restoring our voting rights and restoring our democracy the next time. This is the most partisan, corrupt Supreme Court in modern American history. How we got here is clear. Decades ago, far-right mega-donors hatched their plan to pour millions of dollars into their secret scheme to hijack the courts for their own aims. They built secret societies to stack the courts with ideological allies. They stole a seat from President Obama, confirmed a justice credibly accused of sexual assault, and ran through Amy Coney Barrett after an election had already started. They bring those justices along on private yacht trips and free vacations. And what do they get for their years of trouble and their millions of dollars? They get decision after decision after decision, silencing working Americans and empowering far right-wing billionaires. Shelby County beginning their assault on the Voting Rights Act. Citizens United allowing unlimited money to distort our elections. Janus silencing the voices of union members. Dobbs ending the legal right to abortion. Trump versus the United States granting a convicted felon president immunity. And now Calais completing their assault on the Voting Rights Act and everything that MLK and John Lewis fought for. We must reform the most unethical, partisan Supreme Court in modern American history. And until we do, democracy will not be safe in America. Reform should include a binding code of ethics, requiring the court to use Congress's $50 gift ban, reforming the shadow docket, 18-year term limits, expanding the size of the court to match the number of judicial circuits, and more. I am really proud to be working alongside so many congressional leaders so that our response to the Calais decision is strong, meets the moment, listens to our voters. And so thank you guys for coming today and happy to answer your questions. Go ahead, Michael.
Thank you, Michael Jones from Once Upon a Hill. Thank you for doing this. I want to focus on the call to end the filibuster. Today is the 4th anniversary of the Dobbs decision. Donald Trump is over in the Senate right now demanding Senate Republicans end the filibuster to pass the Save America Act, which I know you oppose. Without the filibuster right now, Republicans may have passed already a national abortion ban, again, on the 4th anniversary of Dobbs. A lot of critics that I've talked to who oppose the idea of ending the filibuster or are looking for exceptions or carve-outs say that it hurts the progressive movement because what it would call for is progressives to have to undo a lot of what Republicans would do without the filibuster each time power shifts. Is that a concern of yours? Do you think that that's something that folks should have to consider, or do you say that the moment that we're in right now is so dire that this Senate tradition, the Senate rule, is just no longer viable for the time we live in?
Well, as folks here know, Republican senators strongly support the filibuster because the Republican donor agenda largely can be accomplished with the filibuster in place. They've cut billionaires' taxes while having the filibuster, started illegal and dangerous and expensive wars with the filibuster. They've rammed through their justices that have gotten the right to abortion onto the bench with the filibuster intact. And so I think that if we want to restore democracy and raise people's wages and lower prices and take on big money in politics, then we have to do something different. We have to be aggressive. And I don't think that Democrats should live in fear of what happens if we try to use Congress's power, because that clearly has not worked for us to just be afraid of what they're going to do. If we want to accomplish an agenda that gives people voting rights and makes people's lives better, then we have to get rid of the Jim Crow filibuster that so far has just been protecting Republicans' mega donors' agenda, which is why you see so many Republican senators so deeply in favor of the filibuster.
How do you anticipate that the New York City progressive wins last night will impact your ability to push for a progressive agenda next term and reforms like these?
Well, as you know, the Democratic elected officials from New York City are overwhelmingly, almost virtually all progressive, and even with the change, some expected, some unexpected, after the elections last night, we're still going to have a very progressive New York City delegation. And while, of course, there will be some differences, I'm really focused on actually what brings us all together, which is restoring voting rights, which is bringing down costs, taking on billionaire interests that are screwing over workers and also now screwing over voters. So that's, I think, the real focus here today, coming out of yesterday's elections. Go ahead.
Given that the resolution that you're proposing would restore the Voting Rights Act, to my understanding, but not change any of its provisions or expand them, how would you account for the Supreme Court potentially just ruling against those same provisions as they have done, given their interpretation of the law?
I think your question is spot on here. We are being very clear that that what we should do after Calais is not just simply pass the law and hand it back to the far right wing bought off justices that invalidated voting rights in the first place. So that's, I think, what actually very specific. Your question and part of the resolution is a very specific answer to that question. The Supreme Court's word is binding, but it is not final. So when the framers built out the Constitution, they did not say that the Supreme Court are lifetime kings of the land that get to have the final word over the American people. In fact, power is with the people and their elected representatives. And so what we're calling for is reforming the Supreme Court, structural changes to the Supreme Court, so that the people's word is actually final. And if the people of the United States want their voting rights, want to make sure that people can't be discriminated against, don't want politicians drawing political boundaries based on race and partisanship, then the American people under the Constitution get to do that. The donors that have been putting right-wing justices on the court don't actually get the final word. And that's what this resolution is all about. It would not make good sense for us to just pass the same law and hand it to the Supreme Court without term limits, new justices, ethics reform, a gift ban, potential jurisdiction, looking at their jurisdiction, et cetera, et cetera.
Just to be clear, would what you're calling for, in your opinion, require any constitutional amendments or any amendments to the laws that currently govern the Supreme Court?
Yes, on Supreme Court, no on the Constitution. Right? By reforming the Supreme Court, by making sure that the Supreme Court actually has to follow the law and not just follow what their donors say, then I think that we would have a significantly different result here if we had term limits, members of the court cycling off as new members of the court are added in, a number of members of the Supreme Court to match the number of appellate districts that we have, then I think that we would be able to restore voting rights in this country. Essentially, I guess as a further point to your question, I think it is falling into those right-wing mega donors' own narrative for them to say that what MLK marched for, what John Lewis did here, was unconstitutional. I think it's just that they don't like it, and we don't accept that they can get rid of voting rights because their donors don't like it.
What are your thoughts on if there are more
No.
Can you expand on that?
I as a Progressive Caucus chair, and actually many of you guys have written about this, was elected to make sure that the progressive movement and the Democratic Party is a big tent. As you've seen, I'm supportive of our members in the most progressive districts and in flip districts. I've endorsed and support very moderate and more conservative Democrats as well as very, very progressive Democrats because we need voters of all stripes and all kinds, and the voters are going to get to elect a variety of different representatives. That's what building a majority party is actually having a majority of the country represented by the people they choose.
I can just follow up on this line of thinking. Last night at one of the watch parties, we saw folks, shouting at Jeffrey, "You're next." Is that helpful when it comes to coalition building and keeping the caucus together?
I didn't watch those election night parties, and I wouldn't take, I wouldn't take huge political cues by what happens at anybody's given party. But I think that we're going to win a majority, and that Leader Jeffries will be the next Speaker of the United States.
Thanks, guys.
All right, thank y'all.
I think we're good.
All good. Thank you.